Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Wednesday drawing session with me, Frank Cho. Today, we are gonna draw Spawn, a character that I don't know too much about. I'm gonna be honest. I've never read a Spawn comic. I mean, actually, I read a couple of Spawn comic, but I never really got into Spawn. So Spawn came out during the big image explosion in the early '90s. My prime comic collecting period was from 1983 to 1990. And in 1990, I stopped because I had to go to college and I couldn't afford comics. So for like from 1990 to 96, I didn't read any comics at all. So I missed the whole, for 5, 6 year period, I missed that whole image explosion and like it was, I felt like Rip Van Winkle. So I basically in that 6 year period, I woke up and the entire landscape of comics completely changed. Because when I was reading comics, you had John Byrne, George Perez, Mike Zeck, Barry Windsor Smith, all those guys, John Buscema. They completely dominated the landscape. And then when I came back into comics, I left comics in 1990s and came back in 96, everything changed. Now is everything was in this image style, which I'm going to be honest, I wasn't a big fan of. So Spawn came out of that period. It was created by Todd McFarlane, which is essentially like a weird cross between Batman and like a demon hunter. Excuse me. So I don't know the character well, and and that's what I'm gonna draw. I'm gonna draw a character that I really don't know, and I have no idea what his powers are or anything. I just assume he is like a kind of like a demon hunter, like a demonic demon hunter. So from what little I read, essentially Spawn is a mercenary, like a soldier that was killed, murdered, and then when he went to hell, he made a bargain with the demon, with the devil, to bring him back to Earth to avenge his death, to find out who killed him, and essentially become an agent of the devil. And so there's like a lot of there's a certain like the crow element, where he dies and come back from death to avenge his killing and all that. So Spawn has some of that, and that's all I know. And like I said, I didn't really read Spawn because at that time when I came back from college, I was actually wasn't really interested in superheroes anymore. But I did read a few issues, few issues, only because of Greg Capullo. I think Greg Capullo's art is absolutely dynamite. I mean, that guy is a freaking art beast. So that's the only reason I actually picked up Spawn, because of his art, not for his story. Not for the story. So anyway, so that's my background in Spawn, and over the years, no one has ever asked me to draw Spawn, and so again, I'm just emphasizing that I don't know the character that well, so I'm trying my best to draw Spawn, and so you're learning how to draw Spawn with me as I'm drawing it. So when I did some little research before I started drawing this sketch, I didn't realize Spawn has so many different costume variations. So I just picked a costume that I like and remember liking. That is the costume that Greg Capullo drew. So again, I'm a big fan of Greg Capullo, so I decided to draw the Greg Capullo's costume. And in this pose, I decided to have him. Originally, I was going to have him on a rock, but I realized that Spawn is he's an urban superhero, so he's around buildings and stuff like that. So I have him kind of like on a building, kind of stuck to a building, which is funny because Todd come from Marvel, from Spider-Man background. Excuse me. So Spawn on a building is very. I thought it was kind of apt. So I am drawing Spawn. So I don't know if it's his costume or his skin. That's why I added veins on it. Because, then again, he's essentially a demon. So I guess skin and costume, it really doesn't matter. And then, the thing that I realized when I was drawing Spawn is that it is so 1980s, 1990s design. It's actually kind of, it kind of bring back fond memories of that era when I was actually collecting comics. So the design of Spawn is actually just, it screams 1990. So there I am drawing these absolutely unnecessary pouches. That was a big thing when Image happened. All these superheroes had pouches. Excuse me, pouches and spikes and all that. So there's a certain goth element to this the Spawn design, which is kind of funny. Kind of again, it's kind of a bit of a time. Like a time trip for me. So there's that big clunky boots, kind of ankle boots thing with spikes. So in some way, it is kind of like there's a certain goth element to it, which is kind of like from that era. And then there's the chain. So this is a part that I kind of deviated from. I think Spawn has like a chain for a belt, but I saw a different variation where he had like a pouch belt. So I decided to draw that because I hate drawing chains. That's why you'll never see me draw Ghost Rider, because he is just like swinging chains around. I really hate drawing chains. And there is, he has a spiky arm bracelet. And he has this cool little fist thing with the spike thing. So actually, as I'm drawing this, I realize Spawn is a pure comic book character. It really is. It could only exist in a comic book. And so here's the cape. The thing that I learned about Spawn is the cape is very important, because the cape is almost like a living entity. It's not a cape. It's not a fabric. The way Todd and all these other artists kind of drew it is, it's not. It doesn't. It doesn't behave like a real fabric. It's like a living entity. It's almost like it's like hair. It grows and stretches, and so there are just drawings where the cape is like 20 feet long and just like wrapping, just whipping around like a living thing. Almost behave like smoke sometimes. So that's one thing that you have to really learn. You have to be mindful when you're drawing Spawn. Is the cape is very important, and it doesn't behave like a normal cape. It's a completely separate entity. So here I am, just like really focusing on the cape and all these like a lot of line work. That's another thing I noticed about the Image comics, is there's a lot of line work. And I decided to add Bat because Spawn has it's very similar to Batman in a lot of ways. Creature of the night. So there it is. Spawn.